Tonight's story is The Scratching in the Walls. Let's begin. The fluorescent lights hummed, that perpetual, maddening drone. Marcus stood at his mailbox. Third time this week, still empty. He was waiting for lease renewal papers, but that wasn't what bothered him. It was the absence of everything else. No junk mail, no takeout menus. Even spam had standards, apparently. A voice spoke behind him. "You're the new tenant in 407?" Marcus turned. An elderly woman sat in the lobby's worn leather chair. He hadn't noticed her. The chair faced away from the mailboxes, toward the wall. His keys jangled in his hand. "Yeah, moved in 2 months ago." The woman's eyes studied him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. "You live alone?" He shifted his weight. "I do." She stood. Her joints cracked like dry wood. "Good, keep it that way." She shuffled toward the elevator. Marcus stood alone with the dying lights and an unease he couldn't name. He'd chosen this building for the rent, close to the hospital where he worked. Surgical resident. Endless hours. The building was old but solid. The kind of place where people lived their whole lives. The kind of place where people died. Asa. 2:47 a.m. Marcus's shift ended. He drove through empty streets. The surgery replayed in his mind. Not his fault. The patient coded before they even opened him up. But Marcus had been holding the scalpel when the monitors flatlined. Those few seconds of frozen panic would replay for weeks. He parked in the underground garage, concrete tomb, motor oil, and something else, something sweet and rotten. Dead rat in the walls, probably. The elevator lurched upward, 4th floor. The doors opened onto a hallway that stretched in both directions. Identical doors marching into fluorescent oblivion. 407 was to the right, past 3 units Marcus had never seen occupied. His key stuck. It always stuck. He jiggled it, listening to the pins click and tumble. Behind him, a door opened. A voice called out, "Long shift!" Marcus turned. The woman from 405 stood in her doorway. Young, maybe 30. Dark hair in a loose bun. He'd seen her in passing. They'd exchanged polite nods. Never spoken. His shoulders sagged. Yeah, surgery went bad. She stepped into the hallway. Pajamas, silk. "I'm sorry. I'm Elena. I know we're neighbors, but we've never officially met." He finally got his door open. "Marcus, nice to meet you." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "Listen, I've been hearing something in my walls, scratching. I called maintenance 3 times. They never show up. Would you mind taking a look just to tell me I'm crazy?" Marcus hesitated. Exhausted, scrubs smelling like antiseptic and fear. But Elena looked genuinely worried. He nodded slowly. "Sure, let me drop my bag." Elena's apartment was a mirror of his own, but where Marcus had barely unpacked, she'd made it a home. Soft lighting, plants everywhere, photographs on the walls. It smelled like vanilla and something floral. "It's in the bedroom?" She led him down the narrow hallway. "The scratching, always around 3 a.m.? Marcus checked his watch. 3:12 a.m. The bedroom was dark, except for a bedside lamp. The bed was made. Covers pulled tight, too tight, hospital corners. Marcus made his bed the same way, a habit he couldn't shake. "There," Elena pointed to the wall. "Listen." They stood in silence. Marcus pressed his ear against the wall, coolness of plaster against skin, nothing. Just the building's groans and sighs, old bones settling. Then, scratch, scratch, scratch. Rhythmic, deliberate, not rodents. Something methodical, something purposeful. "Jesus," Marcus pulled back. "That's not rats." "I know." Elena's voice barely a whisper. "I looked up the building's history." The temperature dropped. Marcus's breath misted, visible in the lamplight. Elena's words came slowly, deliberately. "Did you know someone died in your apartment?" Silence. Marcus's voice came out hoarse. "What?" She moved closer. "That vanilla scent. 6 months ago, the previous tenant. They found her after 3 weeks. She died alone. No family, no friends, just her and the walls." The scratching grew louder, more insistent. Marcus backed toward the door. "Why are you telling me this? Why did you really ask me here?" Elena smiled. In the dim light, her teeth seemed too white, too perfect. She took a step forward. "Because you're alone too, Marcus. I can always tell. The way you walk, the way you unlock your door, like you're apologizing for taking up space." Another step. "And the alone ones, they hear it best. The scratching, the calling." Marcus's hand found the doorframe, heart hammering, that frozen panic from the OR returning. Fight or flight? Move! His voice cracked as he stumbled backward. I need to go. Elena's smile didn't waver. Of course. But you'll hear it now, in your apartment, in your walls. She's been waiting. Someone who understands what it's like to die a little bit every day. Marcus ran. He slammed his door through the deadbolt, hands shaking so badly it took 3 tries. Adrenaline flooding his veins, same chemical cocktail from the surgery. But this wasn't the OR. This was home, his sanctuary. And it had become something else. 3:23 a.m. Call someone, the police? And tell them what? His neighbor spooked him with a ghost story? Marcus forced himself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, medical school stress management. It had never worked then either. His apartment was exactly as he'd left it. Spartan furniture, unpacked boxes against the walls, air mattress in the bedroom. What was the point? He was barely here. 12-hour shifts blurred into 16. Sleeping at the hospital because driving home seemed impossible. He poured 3 fingers of whiskey, drank it in one burning swallow. Elena was messing with him, some weird game. Maybe she was high. Marcus laughed. The sound came out harsh and bitter. He was losing it. 29 hours without sleep. Hallucinating threats from a pretty neighbor who probably just had a rodent problem. He'd apologize tomorrow. Bring her the number for a real exterminator. Marcus stripped off his scrubs. They reeked. He threw them in the corner with the others. When was the last time he'd done laundry? 2 weeks? 3? He collapsed onto the air mattress. Sleep came fast and heavy. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Marcus's eyes snapped open. Darkness? Complete darkness. The scratching came from the wall, right next to his head. He fumbled for his phone. 3:47 a.m. He'd been asleep for maybe 20 minutes. The scratching continued, methodical, rhythmic. He pressed his ear against the wall. Nothing. Wait, something. A whisper, faint, muffled by plaster and time. Asterisk, help me. Marcus jerked back, heart racing. The words tore from his throat. Fuck this. He turned on every light. The apartment blazed, shadows fled to the corners, but the scratching didn't stop. It moved, following him, from the bedroom to the living room, from the living room to the kitchen, always in the walls, always just behind the plaster. His phone rang. Unknown number. His hand trembled as he answered. Hello? Breathing, wet, labored, like someone drowning. He gripped the phone tighter. Who is this? The breathing intensified, a gurgling sound, then a voice, female, desperate. Nobody came. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone, hands trembling. Another text, unknown number. A photo loaded slowly. His bedroom, taken from the doorway. In the image, Marcus stood with his back to the camera, palm pressed against the wall. But the wall was different. A crack, jagged, wide. Through the gap, darkness. And in that darkness, a body. Female, hospital scrubs, face turned toward the camera, mouth open, screaming. Fingernails broken, bloody from scratching at the plaster. Marcus dropped the phone. It clattered on the floor. Knocked on his door, soft at first, then harder. Marcus? Elena's voice. Marcus, I know you can hear me. He didn't move, didn't breathe. She was a doctor too, you know. Claire. Worked at the same hospital as you, ER physician. Brilliant, dedicated. A pause. Alone. The scratching erupted from every wall. Not just one location, everywhere. Living room, kitchen, bathroom. A symphony of desperate clawing. Marcus pressed his hands over his ears. It didn't help. The doorknob rattled. Elena's voice came through the door. 3 weeks she lay in that tub. Nobody came. Nobody heard her scratching. Nobody cared that she died alone. His voice exploded, raw with fear. You're not real. This isn't happening. Laughter, wet, gurgling. Her words dripped with amusement. Isn't it? The deadbolt clicked. Unlocked. Marcus hadn't touched it. The door swung open. Elena stood in the doorway. But not Elena. Water poured from her hair, from her clothes, pooling on the floor. Her skin was gray, bloated, eyes clouded white like cataracts. She smiled, lips peeling back to reveal teeth stained dark. Words came thick with fluid. You didn't answer her. Claire, she called and called. 3 weeks, nobody came, nobody heard her scratching. She stepped inside. Each footstep left a wet print that steamed in the suddenly frigid air. Water streamed from her hair as she spoke. You see death every day, Marcus. You cut into it. Stitch it up. Pretend you're fighting it. Another step. The apartment's temperature plummeted. Marcus could see his breath. Frost formed on the windows in delicate patterns. She tilted her head, water cascading. "But you know the truth. Death isn't the enemy." She moved closer. "Loneliness is." Marcus pressed himself against the wall. Her hand reached out, fingers dripping. Claire worked herself to death. No family, no friends, just the job and the empty apartment. If she disappeared, it would take weeks for anyone to notice. Her gray, bloated face came within inches of his. "Just like you." Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked down. Another photo, recent timestamp. His own bedroom. Taken from the doorway, he stood with his back to the camera, palm pressed against the wall. The hairline crack had widened, a jagged fissure. Through the gap, the space between the walls, a body hung suspended in darkness. Female, hospital scrubs. Face turned toward the camera, mouth open in a silent scream. Fingernails broken, bloody from scratching. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "She's still there, in the walls. They never found her. The smell went away. Everyone assumed she moved out." The scratching intensified, every wall simultaneously. A cacophony of desperate clawing. Her cold fingers touched his cheek. "But she's been here the whole time, waiting, listening, knowing that eventually someone just like her would move in." Marcus's legs gave out. He slid down the wall. Medical training useless. No procedure for ghosts. No protocol for confronting your own future death. The words barely escaped his lips. "I'm not like her. I have friends. I have—" She crouched in front of him, water from her clothes soaking into his shirt. "When was the last time someone called you? Not the hospital. Not about a shift. When did someone call just to talk, to check on you, to remind you that you exist outside those fluorescent hallways?" Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. His mind scrolled through his contacts. Recent calls. All work, all hospital. All about being a doctor, never about being a person. The walls began to crack, hairline fissures spreading like spider webs. Through the gaps, darkness. And in that darkness, movement. Bodies pressed against the other side, trying to push through. Her voice came soft, almost gentle. "They are all here. Everyone who died alone in this building. 43 years of solitary deaths, heart attacks, suicides. One old man choked on his dinner. Lay on the floor for 5 days." The cracks widened. Hands emerged, gray, mottled, reaching. Dozens of hands, then hundreds, all grasping toward him. The whisper came again. "They're all in the walls now, part of the structure, and they want you to join them." Marcus forced himself to stand, back against the door, desperation cracking through every word. No, I'm leaving. I'm calling someone." She rose with him, face inches from his, burst blood vessels in her eyes, blue tint to her lips. Who are you going to call, Marcus? Who in your life would even notice if you stopped showing up?" The answer came with the weight of absolute truth. Nobody. Parents dead. Car accident during second year of residency. He'd missed the funeral, 72-hour shift. No siblings. Friends from medical school scattered. Occasional texts growing less frequent until they stopped. Last relationship ended when she told him he was more in love with the job than with her. She was right. The walls cracked wider. Hands emerged from the gaps. Gray, mottled, dozens, hundreds, all grasping. The scratching became a roar, a chorus of forgotten dead demanding acknowledgement. Her cold hand touched his cheek. Marcus felt his tears freezing on his skin. Her voice was almost tender. "It's not so bad, being part of something, never being alone again, all of us together in the walls. Listening to the living world, we keep each other company. We remember each other's names." The hands grabbed him, cold fingers wrapping around his wrists, his ankles, his throat. They pulled him away from the door toward the widening cracks. Marcus tried to scream. His voice came out as a whisper, thin, desperate. "Asterisk, help me." The same words Claire had said, the same plea that went unanswered. The hands dragged him into the wall, into the darkness between plaster and studs. The space was impossibly large, a vast cavity filled with bodies. They hung suspended, all facing outward, watching the apartments they died in. Their mouths moved in unison, silent chorus of names and dates and final moments. Marcus felt his body stiffening, cooling, becoming part of the structure. His medical knowledge cataloged the process. Rigor mortis, algor mortis, systematic shutdown of biological systems. But he was still conscious, still aware, still alone, even surrounded by the dead. Elena appeared beside him. Her hand slipped into his. She smiled. For the first time, the expression looked genuine. Welcome home. The wall sealed behind them, plaster flowing like water to cover the cracks. In Marcus's apartment, everything looked normal. Air mattress, boxes, empty space where a life should have been. His phone sat on the floor, screen dark. No missed calls, no concerned text. Just the building's maintenance app. Automated reminder, rent due in 3 days. The scratching began again. Soft, rhythmic, a new pattern, a new voice added to the chorus. It would continue for years, growing louder with each lonely death, until the building's walls were more corpse than concrete. The elderly woman sat in her chair facing the wall. She'd been there for hours, listening. She always listened. Someone had to keep track, to remember which apartments held which bodies, to warn new tenants even though they never listened. She heard the scratching from 407, made a note in her ledger. Marcus, surgical resident, age 32, died of loneliness on October 17th at 3:47 a.m. The ledger was nearly full. She'd need a new one soon. The elevator dinged. A young woman entered the lobby, dragging a suitcase. She approached the mailboxes, checked the directory, turned to the elderly woman with a bright smile. The newcomer's voice rang out, cheerful and hopeful. "Hi, I'm the new tenant in 407. I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you." The elderly woman studied her. Alone, no wedding ring. That desperate brightness. Trying to convince yourself this fresh start would be different. That this time, you wouldn't disappear into the routine. Work and sleep and slow dissolution. The question came again. "You live alone?" Sarah's smile widened. "I do, just me." The woman closed her ledger, stood, joints creaking. "Keep it that way." She shuffled toward the elevator. Sarah stood alone, the hum of dying lights, the faint sound of scratching that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Behind the walls, Marcus pressed his palm against the plaster. He could feel the warmth of the living world, could hear Sarah's footsteps, walking to the elevator. He wanted to warn her, wanted to scratch out a message, make her understand what waited in 407. But his voice was gone, his body was gone. All that remained was the memory of dying alone, and the knowledge that soon, very soon, he wouldn't be alone anymore. The scratching grew louder, welcoming, as Sarah's key turned in the lock of 407.